So now we are moving on to making our top, the matching frill top that goes with these shorts. So you just want to grab your fabric. I've just cut mine down so it's easier to manage with my pattern pieces because the pattern is quite big for this one. Salvage edge to salvage edge. So fold it in half with the two salvages on top of each other. Put that down like so. So those are the salvage edges. And then you just want to grab your pattern piece, and because it was quite a big piece, just if it's easier, just undo that and so just have one salvage edge and then just place that on top. And just remember the grain line has to run parallel to your salvage edge. So yeah, if your piece is too big to have your fabric folded in half, because we need to cut out one pair. I've gone ahead and traced this off the big pattern. I can fit mine when it's folded salvage to salvage, but because we want one pair, if you can't fit yours, just remember just to spread your fabric out so it's one layer. So your salvage edge is there, the frilly edge or the little holes in it. And then run your grain line parallel to your salvage edge. So if you're just going to do single cuts, just go one, cut that out, pin it in, and then cut that out, and then do another piece, cut off another piece of fabric, and then do it individually like so. But because I can fit mine in half, that means I can cut my pair at once, and I can just fit mine on, only just though. And then you're going to want to pin it in place and make sure your grain line runs parallel to your salvage edge. So once you've pinned it all in place and you're happy that you've got two layers or the one layer, depending on how you decide to cut it out, go ahead and cut it out. So once you've cut it all out, just remember these little bits at the top of the notches. So what you're going to do is you're just going to go through and just put a tiny little cut mark in each position. Then we know that that's the top, and that is where the straps go later on. So pull out your pins once you've cut it out. Take your pattern off. And then there we go. I'll show you the little notches I was meaning. So just do a little cut notch. Just a little cut in the top. There's that one and that one. That one's a little bit bigger, but just something like that where the little notches are. Great. Now I'm going to cut the straps out. So I've done my front and back because we just need to do one pair. And then I've got my straps. Here's all my fabric. Great. So we just need 4 single of these ones. So 2 pairs or 4 singles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my fabric out, and just remember you always fold the grain line, the salvage edge to the other salvage direction. So there's my 2 salvages. So I'm just going to fold it over a little bit because I don't need all this fabric. So I'm just going to fold it over a little bit, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 2 pairs, which equals 4 singles, right? So just make sure that they're going to fit there. Perfect. So, and then make sure your grain line is running parallel to your salvage edge once again. And then we're going to pin it. And then cut it out once you've pinned. The pattern to cut another pair. So we've got 1, 2 straps. Now we just need another 2. So we're just going to place them there, and then we're take your pins out. Get rid of your fabric. And so now you should have 4 single straps. 1, 2, 3, 4. Great. So we're going to just pack those aside for now. So we just need our front and backs. 1, 2. So 1 front, 1 back, same pattern. And then your straps. And that's all the pattern pieces for this top. Easy peasy. To begin, you just want to thread up your machine with the thread of your colour of choice. I'm going for a white because I thought that looked quite nice. If you need a reminder on how to thread your machine, just look back at my other videos. There's one there of threading your machine. To begin, you want to grab, so we're going to sew everything on the medium stitch length, just the plain sewing length. And we're going to want to grab your straps. So what we want to do is, if your fabric has a right side and a wrong side, remember the right side is called the right side, and that's just the fabric, the print is that side. So you're going to want to put your right sides of your fabric together. This fabric is same both sides, it doesn't matter. But you're going to want to fold your strap in half long ways, and then you're going to want to sew along that edge and sew this top edge. 1 centimetre seams. 1 centimetre seams for this whole garment, unless we've stated otherwise. Here is, so see the print is that side, and then that's the wrong side, so that's inside out. So for these straps, you're going to want to fold the print on top of each other. So the outside of the fabric is on the outside. So that, I'm just using that as an example. So the fabric print, the right sides, fold them on top of each other. So fold them on top of each other. So that's the right side of the fabric, that's the print, and then you're going to sew all the way along there and along there, 1 centimetre seams. And remember to back tack at the start and at the end of your seam. Make sure you check that you're sewing 2 layers of fabric. You don't want to slip and only sew 1. So as you're going down, just keep kind of checking that you've got both layers of fabric under there. So you sew all the way to the edge, stop, and then back tack, pull your needle up, flick your foot up, and then pull your work out, cut your threads. So you've sewn all the way along that edge, 1 centimetre seam. And remember to measure your seams. You can always use a measuring tape and measure from your needle out 1 centimetre. And on your machine, you'll probably have little lines. You just follow the 1 centimetre line. That's your guideline. And take your time. No rush. This is the beauty of doing it in your own home. You can just take your time, pause the video if you're not quite sure. Right, so now I'm doing the top of just one edge of the strap. So you've done all the way along that seam, 1 centimetre, and then you're going to do that top edge, 1 centimetre. Back tack at the start and at the end. You just go all the way along. Once you've done that, you're going to trim your threads. If you trim them as you go, it makes it a bit easier at the end. Great, we're going to do this to all of your straps. Do this 4 times, exactly that. So another strap, fold it in half, right side's on the inside, because eventually, so this shebang should be inside out. Eventually we're going to pull it through so it's the right way. Great, so I've got 4 sew-in straps, and then we're just going to go through and trim them all up. Get rid of all the loose threads. So I'm going to put those aside for now, leave them as they are. We'll get back to those shortly. And now we're going to grab our front and our backs. So you've got two big pieces. And you're going to want to sew down the edge of each side seam. So the big long rectangles, you're going to want to sew the shorter edges. So there's two short edges. You sew those two edges. So that one and that one. Not the big long edge, not these edges, the shorter edges. So make sure you've got two on top of each other, so two pieces, so that's 1, 2. Put them together and then sew that edge, and back tack at the start and at the end of your seam. So it just looks like that. So that's just my sewing edge along there. And now you're going to grab your other side, your other short edge, that side, and then you're going to sew along there as well. Same thing that you just did. And remember, if you have any issues with your sewing machine while you're sewing, and you can't figure out what's going on, just rethread it, just start again. It's the easiest way to sort of diagnose the problem, shall we say. Majority of the time, it's because something's not quite threaded up correctly. So if you start again, then you can figure it out. And now my bobbins run out. Right, where was I? Pick up where I left off. So you just, if that happens to you, you just start back where your stitch line ended. So you can just sew on top of it and start sewing again. Make sure you go right on top of the last stitch line, otherwise you might get a hole. Great. So now I have got my two shorter edges. So this edge and this edge are sewn. Leave this long top edge, leave that open, and leave that bottom open for now. So this seams you've just sewn, go ahead and either zigzag the edge of those just to stop it from fraying and giving it a bit of extra strength. Either zigzag on your plain sewing machine, or if you have an overlocker, go ahead and overlock those two seams that you've just sewn on your big rectangle piece. So I've got an overlocker, so I'm going to go ahead and overlock those seams now. There you go, so that's one overlocked edge. I'll go ahead and do the other side. Or you can use your plain sewer, which does just does a great job. Two tidied up edges. So as I was saying, you can zigzag if you don't have an overlocker. You just use your zigzag stitch. So I'd probably use the middle zigzag stitch there, and then you're just going to sew along the edge of your, just near where you've plain sewn it, along there, and then you're just going to zigzag that. That just does the same thing. It just tidies it up, gives it a bit of extra strength and stability, and eliminates it fraying. Your top out like that, and then this top edge where you've done your little notches, you're just going to go through and either zigzag stitch all the way around that whole top edge, so all the way around there, the front and the back, or overlock it. So you're going to go all the way along there and then just finish that seam the whole way around. So I'm just going to start at my seam, my side seam that I did earlier. Just fold this seam over to one side and then just go over top of it with your overlocker or your plain sew zigzag. And then when you get to the starting point, you're just going to meet them and run it off. And with the zigzag, you're just going to go back, just go through and just run over that same, the starting point. So it just looks like that. And you've done the whole way around that whole top edge. Cool. The top edge that you've just sewn, overlocked or zigzagged, you're going to go through now and fold it over. Put that like that. So those are your edges, so that you can see your overlocking or your zigzag stitch. So at the moment the top is inside out, which is what we want. Fold this top edge down 4 centimeters. So grab a tape measure or something and measure 4 centimeters all the way around. And then you're going to pin it in place. So it's 4 centimeters the whole way. This one's a little bit fiddly, but you could even go and iron yours as you're doing it, because that might make it stay still. So just iron as you're measuring. But you're just going to go around, measure 4 centimeters, and either pin or iron. I might do both. I might just quickly pin for now, and then go and iron it. So that's what yours should look like. Pinned down 4 centimeters all the way around. I'm going to go ahead and just give it an iron just so it stays nice and still when I'm sewing it. So you go ahead and do that too. Just watch out for your pins in your iron. So I have gone along and just ironed it. It's much flatter. It'll be way easier to deal with. And now we're going to go and sew it. So it's all nice and flat and ironed. So you're just going to go around and sew your edge. So either your overlocked or your zigzag edge that you've done. So you're just going to go through and sew that. Take your pins out as you go around so you don't get them caught. And just slowly go around and sew that edge. And you should sew straight if you've done a perfect 4 centimeter fold down. Then your sewing line will be nice and straight. Back tack at the start and at the end. And don't run over your pins. You don't want a broken needle. You start at your side seam, so start at your seam that you sewn down earlier. That bit there. And then start along there, that top edge. And go all the way around. Right, so I'm approaching where I began sewing along here. So we're going to leave a little gap, maybe about a few centimeters, 2 centimeters say, from the start line that you've started on. As you went around this top edge, where you started, just go back 2 centimeters and stop sewing there. I'll show you what I mean. See, so that's where I started and that's where I've ended. And I've left that little gap. And why we did that is because we're going to want to get some elastic in there. So just leave a little gap there. Right, so that's your top edge that you've just gone around on that whole edge. Now what we're getting, we've left that little gap there. Now what we want to do is we want to start, sew 1 centimeter next to that line we've just done. So that's the stitch line we've just done there. Stitch line that we've just sewn. That's the bit we folded over 4 centimeter and we sewed that bit. That's the other side. So now on that, we want to sew 1 centimeter up from that. So you want to go through and measure out 1 centimeter seam. So an easy way to do it is you can either pin 1 centimeter. So we're going to measure 1 centimeter next to that stitch line that we've just done upwards, not down into the top, up towards that folded seam. And then you're going to go 1 centimeter, and I just sort of pin mine so I know. Or you can use like a little chalk, if you've got a chalk, just to put marks on it. Or if you sort of know on your sewing machine where a centimetre is, you're just going to go along that a centimetre. I know where a centimetre is on mine, so I'm not going to mark it out, but you could put pins along just to follow that line. So you just want to have a centimetre up from that line on the folded edge. Great. So for this one, you don't need to leave a opening, this next line, and back tack at the start and at the end. So if you have marked yours in place with some pins, just go along and follow the pins, or just go along and use your tape measure and just keep sort of having it there. I'll show you what I mean. To follow the centimetre, back tack at the start and at the end, and then just go a centimetre along from that line. So you can use your tape measure and just slowly go and follow a centimetre, or pin it. And so a centimetre is sort of, you just leave a little gap by that stitch line, and then that's a centimetre. So I know roughly where it is. I'm just happy to use that as a guide. But yes, use your pins if you need to, and measure a centimetre up from this stitch line you did earlier. And that's the underside of it. So that's the either zigzag edge or the overlocked. And then when you get to the start of your line, you just join up the stitches and then back tack. Take it out of the machine. Trim all your loose threads. Cool, so that's what it should look like. So that's your folded edge there. Turn it over, and then you've got your 2 stitch lines. So that bottom stitch line was the 4 centimetres from the edge, and we were just following that zigzag or your overlocking we did earlier, and then you just followed that line 1 centimetre next to it, all the way along. Mill elastic, you've cut it to the length that you need for your size, and then what you're going to do is you're just going to put a safety pin on the end of it to put it through there, and then we're going to wind it through. I'll show you how I mean. So you grab your safety pin, the end of your elastic, put the safety pin through the end, like so, and then you're just going to want to thread it through where you left a little opening, your hole. So mine is there. I could probably go through and trim some threads as well. So that's my little hole that I've left, and you're just going to push it through there. So that's the little hole. And you push it through all the way around. Push, push, push. So what you're doing is you're pushing the safety pin through, and then you're threading it through, and I'll sort of show you what it starts to look like. And that's how you get created the little top edge of the ruffled effect. So we're technically threading the elastic through that little casing we've sewn. So through that little bit there, that little 1 centimetre channel that we've sewn, we're going to thread the elastic through there. So just push your safety pin all the way through, and just be careful you don't lose the edge, the other end of the fabric of the elastic. If you want to, you can always safety pin it to the edge, or just be careful that you don't pull the whole thing through, because then you have to start again. So push it through. So what I'm doing is just pushing the safety pin. Right, so I've still got the loose edge of elastic, and I'm approaching the opening where we started. So then you're just going to push the pin, safety pin through, and then pull it out. So then you should have both edges coming out of that one little hole, And then you're just going to push it all around so it kind of evens it out. I'm just going to attach this loose edge of elastic onto my safety pin, just so I don't lose that edge. So it's like that. And then that lets me kind of slowly push it all around just to even it out a bit and not lose each end. And a good way to do it is you sort of just pull it like that, and then so you get a good pull it all out, and that evenly distributes the frill. And then you're just going to find those edges again, and then just make sure your elastic's not twisted up either. So just kind of go through and feel that the elastic's all flat, because you won't want twisted elastic, because it'll be quite annoying. But like, that's the little frill. Obviously it needs a good iron, but that's the little frill edge, the top of your top. So it's looking pretty cute. Now what you're going to do is you're going to undo your safety pin, and then you've gone through and ensured it's not all twisted, and then you're just going to join these two edges so they're flat. So put one on top of the other like so. So you've got that piece, put that piece on top, and then you're just going to sew your elastic together. So just sew along your elastic, do a few lines and back tack just to make sure it doesn't ping open, and that'll just really hold it in place. And then once you've sewn those together, you can let it go through the top and then just ease it all through. So that's obviously you go through and trim your loose threads, but you're just going to put it on top of it, and then just sew a few lines over there just to really make sure it's nice and secure. And then you can let it go back through its hole, and then you just pull it all so it evenly gathers. Pull your elastic, and then you're just going to go back where you've left that little gap when you were sewing. You're just going to go back and fill in that little gap there. So go and excuse me, go sew along there and join up your stitch lines. Great, so it just looks like that. You just go back through and just sew along just to join up that hole that we did have. And now go through and trim all your loose threads. Trim them all so it looks nice and tidy. The body of your top. Now we're just going to do your straps. So we've got your, grab your straps, and we're going to want to turn them in so that they're the right way out. And so my little trick is I grab a chopstick. Cool, so you've got your strap, and we're going to want to turn those in so they're the right way through. There's a few ways to do this. I like to do it with a chopstick. So I grab a little chopstick, where you've sewn the edge, that top edge where you've sewn, you're going to want to open that up, so pull each side apart, and then you just grab the chopstick, open up the sides, and then grab the chopstick, and then you're just going to push it through your sewn top edge, and then you just keep pushing. Push it through, so that's your chopstick there. Push, 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 and there we go. And that's your sewn edge turned through the right way. And then you just pull it all the way down, and that has turned it in the right way. So then you're going to give them an iron and do that to all four. And there's one strap. Grab another strap. So I'll show you again. So that's your sewn edge, that to go. So you just get the sewn edge, and then you create sort of like a little like tunnel. You kind of put your finger in there, just sort of, and then that's your sewn edge in there, and then you stuff the chopstick through that little hole, and then you just push it all through like so, and then pull the chopstick out, and then just pull that all the way down, and then your strap is gone the right way through. So you should have 4 straps. I've got one more to do, so I'll quickly do that one. You should have 4 straps all in the right way. Go ahead and press them so they're nice and flat. Press all 4 of them. I'll go and do that and I'll be back in a minute. I've gone ahead and overlocked my edges of my straps. So you've got the folded edge at one end, and then where you had the raw edges, you just overlock or zigzag them, so just so it tidies them up, just the edges of each strap. So I've got 4 there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to attach it to our top. So you're going to go and get your top, where your elastic and stuff is at the top. Where your side seam is, you're going to pull your elastic so it's flat, just so you can see. And you're going to try and find that notch that we made earlier, which was that little slit in the fabric. So there's one of mine. Just there, see that little slit? And that is the middle of your strap. So you're going to get one of your straps, put the seam of your strap towards the side seam. So there's your side seam, put the seam going that way. And then the little notch, you're going to put your strap, and that notch is the middle of your strap. So put your strap in the middle of it. And then you're just going to pin it in place. Pull your elastic so it's flat while you do this. So you're going to put your overlocked or zigzag edge along the same overlock zigzag edge that we did before on that side one. So if you pick it up, there's your notch, goes in there. Great, and then you do that for all 4 sides. So you find your other side seam, go along and find your notch. If you're having trouble finding your notch, you can always go onto the pattern and measure how far away the notch is. Just take into account the side seam. So that's a centimetre, so you take the centimetre off. But so you're just going to go along and find your other notch, which can be quite tricky to do. Oh, there's my other one there. Just there. Cool, and then you're going to grab your strap, get the seam of your straps, that edge, and then put that towards that side seam. And then put the overlocked edge on the overlocked edge, and the notch is the middle of the strap. So do that to all 4 straps. And then go around the other side. There's my little frayed split. Pin it on. And then one more there. So that's quite a big notch. That one's easy to see, just there. And then you grab that. A last strap. Put the seam towards that side seam. And then pin it in place. So you should have 4 straps all pinned in place. So once you've pinned them all in place, you can always try on your top now with them pinned and tie up the ties, just so you can get the placement correct, because everyone's sizes are slightly different, shapes and sizes, and you know your boobs, you might want them in a slightly different place. So try it on now. If they're not quite in the right place, just feel free to move them over where you sort of want them to cover your bra strap. The placement should be pretty good, but that way you can get it perfect. Cool, so once you've decided on your placement, you're just going to pin it in, make sure that the edges are on top of each other, like so. That one and then that one. And then you're just going to sew along either of these edges, probably that one will be a bit easier. So sew along the edge and just make sure your strap is nice and flat. If you have too much trouble sewing along that edge, that second line, if you have too much trouble, then just sew along this edge and then just try and line it up best you can. We just want to sew your strap onto your top. And as you're sewing it, pull your elastic so it's nice and flat. So try not sew it when it's like that. Pull your elastic so it's nice and flat, and then just sew along. And back tack. I'm going to take that pin out so I don't get all caught. And then all the way along. And then back tack at the end. And then pull it out. Great. So from the front edge, when you're wearing your top, you won't be able to see heaps of different sewing lines. Again, if you can't quite get manage on that side, just sew it on that side the best you can. It's all ruffled anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. And then just trim all your loose threads. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to sew as well, maybe halfway between that one and that one. So that's now attached, but we don't want that to be flapping down all the time. So to make mine straight, I'm just going to sew along maybe about 1 centimetre down. Let's have a look. Yeah, maybe about 1 centimetre from that top edge, just to hold it down so when you're wearing it doesn't flap down and fold down like that. So it's nice and flat. And again, just pull the elastic as you're doing it so it doesn't get all wrinkled. Right, back tack at the start at the end. Take your work out. There we go, just so it keeps it nice and flat. So you can kind of see I've sewn along that edge and along that edge down there. And you do that for all 4. And pull the elastic. Great, and then just go through and trim all your big loose threads, as you can kind of see there. Go and trim all those off. Cool, so this is what it looks like. So you're following on you're stitched along that edge, and then you've just done that little top stitch at the top. So that's what it looks like on that side. So it should all sort of been lined up with the other one. And then if you turn it over, just looks like that on the front. And if you pull the elastic a bit further, you can kind of, so that's what each strap should look like. And if it doesn't, if you've got a few more stitch lines, don't worry about it. It all gets ruffled up. You don't have to be too particular, but that's the back of it. Yay, now we've just got the hem to go, and then the top is nearly finished. Yay! So now we're going to do the hem. So you can go ahead and either zigzag that the hems all the way around, or overlock it, either one, whichever you've got, and then turn it up 1 centimeter. I would probably at this stage, I'd probably try the top on, because now you've got the straps all sewn on. Try the top on and just make sure you're happy with the length. And then we're gonna, yeah, if you want to take it, if it's too long, you can cut off a bit of length. So just measure correctly and just chop it off. So I've just gone ahead and overlocked the hem, and then I've just run it off at the edge, but you can either overlock or zigzag stitch on your plain sewer. Trim your threads, and then if you're going to overlock or zigzag and then turn up once, then you're going to go through and you're going to measure a centimeter. So this pattern has a centimeter hem. So you're going to go through and measure a centimeter and give it an iron all the way around. Maybe put a few pins in. So make sure that that length is, the hem turn up is 1 centimeter. So you're just going to go through. So we'll just go 2 to 3 and then just go around. Make sure you're happy that it's a centimeter all the way around. Pin it, iron it in place, do what you need to do. Excuse me. And then we're going to go through, and once you're happy you've got a centimeter, and you're going to go through and just sew it all the way around. So I have given mine an iron, and I'm happy that that's a centimeter. I'm going to follow my centimeter gauge on my sewing machine, and you're just going to sew all the way around the hem, the whole way around. Back tack at the start and at the end, and off we go. So you're going to sew all the way around, and when you get to the start where you started your stitching, you're just going to join them up and back tack. Pull the needle out, trim your threads. So it should look something like that where you've joined it. Cool. And then you go and give it a final press. So now you've finished your top. So that is the hem, what it would look like. And the underside. Go and give it a press. I haven't pressed mine just yet, but once you've finished, give it a big press. Press the side seams. Make sure all of this is nice and flat, and then you're finished. Yay, well done. How exciting.